Welcome into the official Jets podcast.
I eat, breathe, and sleep the New York Jets, my team.
He knows what it means to wear the green and white.
That is a tightrope walk across Niagara Falls. That's hard to do.
The official Jets podcast is presented by Kendra Scott, the jewelry company that's shining bright and doing good. Shop game day ready jewelry styles and so much more at kendrascott.com.
Gentlemen, let's get your thoughts. It's the start of a new era for the New York Jets. Your former teammate, Aaron Glenn, takes control. 22nd head coach in franchise history. He is paired with Darren Mougey. They met with the media today.
Yeah. I know it sounds silly, but I couldn't sleep last night.
Really?
To be honest with you, yeah, I'm so excited that, Aaron got the job for multiple, I could talk about him as a friend, as a, teammate, as so many things that we've been through together. And to start as a scout and come back here as a head coach and to know what it means to win in New York, it's just something I wanted to be a part of it. And I was looking at him today and reminiscing and brought back great memories. And just from listening to him talk and the passion, talking about his faith and his family and everything like that, I just couldn't be happier that he's the new coach of the New York Jets.
We were just talking about it before the lights, the camera started rolling. You've covered more of these than you could have ever wished for over the course of 30 years. But with that being said, what made today feel different?
Because there's a one of us feeling about Aaron Glenn because he's one of us, right? Like the Jets matter to him. I think it matters that, he was a legitimate candidate, if not maybe the top of the list for New Orleans, came here, wanted to talk to the Jets. This job matters. I was told, we talked about it earlier as well, that in the interview, when the cameras weren't rolling and the lights weren't on and it wasn't a press conference and it wasn't for public consumption, it was just for the people in the room, he delivered the same message to the people in that room, to Woody, to Christopher, to Jaime, to everybody in the decision-making hierarchy, that he delivered in the press conference. Unfinished business. Or like 98 sticks in his craw. 10-0 to the Broncos in the AFC Championship game matters to him. He wants, because he knows how close the Jets as an organization were then, how close they were when Rex Ryan was here, how long it's been since Jet fans have had the opportunity to believe the way that they believed when he was here. That is part of his DNA. You could sense it. He wants to be a part of that again. And that's a real thing, right? Like, I think that is going to resonate with Jet fans as well.
How unique is that background? First round pick in 94. He stays here in 2001. He comes back in a scouting position in 2012 and 13. And now he's the head coach of this franchise.
Yeah, like I said, it's a great story. But like you say, the fact that he went, some people kind of cut the line a little bit sometimes, to, get in position of power, management, stuff like that. And that's fine. But, it's kind of like starting in the mailroom kind of thing. Like you said, he learned how to evaluate talent, learn how to scout. And I think that's important that, that's a big thing you can see for the guys that have draft picks that stay. We get a lot of draft picks that come and go, and it's never thought about. But like he said, it's not going to be easy. He didn't come in here with false promises. You know what I mean? He just believes in himself, in the GM and the staff, and what he could do in Detroit, he can duplicate that with the Jets. And if you can't be happy right now and smiling, then something's wrong with you. Because like you said, he's one of us. And like I said, that means something. He knows what to expect from New York media, from the New York fans, from everybody. But so he still wanted to come here and be a part of that, good or bad, whatever it takes to come together and get to the playoffs and hopefully to the Super Bowl.
Shoes, what did you make of the searches? I think 16 candidates in all announced by the organization as completed interviews. Start with the head coaching search as far as the names and Aaron rising above.
Yeah. It's funny. Somebody, one of your buddies who wants to poke fun at the Jets text you, are you even a candidate? Because we're interviewing so many people. And so my response was, so now they're being too thorough? Like, that's the problem?
Yeah.
So if you're at the bottom of the pile, there's always going to be people taking shots at you until hopefully you get the right guy and you return to the top of the pyramid. And they definitely feel like they have hit the right guy to get them back. But I admired the fact that from the start, they took, as Woody said, the most thorough approach that they could. We are going to identify everyone that we think is a legitimate candidate for this job, and we're going to give them all an equal plate appearance. Everyone's going to get the same 3-hour interview. Everybody's going to get the chance to answer the same questions the right way. And then when we have looked at all of that in totality, and we are patient, we're not going to make a snap judgment, we're not going to react emotionally to one candidate or another, then we'll have the most thorough evaluation that we could have. And they did that. So if the worst thing that the Jets did was being too thorough, then great, take pot shots at them for that. But it certainly seemed, based on what we saw today, that they arrived at the right guy. And as Wayne said, someone who goes into this with eyes wide open about exactly what they're walking into, right? New York is different. The Jets are different. It is a different job. But again, one of us, he's been here, he gets it. And the fact that he is not only understanding that it's different, but embracing that, I think makes him even better for the job.
Yeah, can you speak to why this is different? Because I know a lot of people are saying Rex Ryan, Todd Bowles, the Jets have done this before, Eric Mangini, guys with that defensive pedigree who are first-time head coaches. Can you speak to why AG is a different candidate, why he was the best in this search in 2025?
Well, everybody's a first-time head coach at some point.
Yeah.
I just, like I said, I think it's time. But, yeah, he's a defensive-minded coach, but he's got a great football IQ. And I think a big thing for a head coach is just the way that he, motivates the team. Like he talks about discipline and being accountable and stuff like that. I don't think it's been like that the last couple of years. Nothing against, coaches that were here, but, you need someone in there that is part Parcells and part Pete, and he's a little bit of everybody. And I think just the fact that could wear so many hats, and he knows what kind of people to bring around him, knows what kind of players he wants around him, because he's been on good teams and he's been on bad teams. But yeah, he's perfect. It doesn't matter that he's a defensive coach or he's a first-time coach. Like I said, he's ready, and it's kind of hard to explain what I see in him. Like when we go again 1,000 times, we probably went against each other, and there was no freebies. There was no like, I'm going to take it easy on this one and take it easy on that one. We constantly battled, and it's the same kind of thing. There's going to be no freebies. You're not going to get a penalty or do something stupid or this and that and not be held accountable. And we've been lacking that in the discipline, and I think that's something he could bring, whether he's a defensive or offensive coach.
You're around it every day. You lived it.
Yeah.
I'm part of it, but not as immersed as you are, obviously, as a player or as you are being here every day. It is different. Like I travel the country, college football games. I've been in other locker rooms, NHL, NBA, even other NFL teams. It's different here. It just is.
Yeah.
And that's just a reality that you can't change. I remember when I was doing the pre- and post-game show, you're not in the coach's post-game press conference after every game, right? You're up in a booth, you're listening to it on audio, you hear the questions get asked, you air it, you talk to callers. When I became the regular play-by-play guy, standard operating procedure, game ends, play-by-play guy goes downstairs, goes to the coach press conference, goes in, talks to the quarterback, gets some interviews. I remember one of the first post-game press conferences that I was a part of. Herm Edwards is the coach. Might have been the first home game the first year I was doing it. And I think they played Jacksonville. And in the old stadium, when you came out of the elevator and made a left, you passed the visitors' press conference first on your way to the Jet or Giant post-game press conference down the hallway to where the locker rooms were. And I walked past, I think Jack Del Rio was coaching Jacksonville, looked in their press conference. There were like 3 cameras and like 4 people with pads and pencils, a couple of PR people. There weren't more than 10 people in the room. Walked down the hallway into Herm's post-game press conference. There were like 27 television cameras and 100 people in the room, producers and people going live and ESPN's in there, and obviously every New York tabloid, all the local TV stations. And I remember thinking, like, this is the dichotomy that basically if you're the Jet or Giant head coach in this town, you're talking to the same room that you'd probably be talking to at the AFC or NFC championship game for the first time all year if you're in Jacksonville or Kansas City or one of the smaller markets. It's just different. And Aaron lived it. He was here. He was a part of it. Went to a championship game. In that locker room, saw the crush. Knows how many people are going to be in there firing questions. And again, I do think the fact that he embraces that matters.
Mougey, this was our first interaction with him today. He got the job on Saturday. Here we are on Monday. It's less than 48 hours. What do you think about the way he handled himself? And maybe more importantly, the way you clearly saw there was a connection there between him and Glenn.
Yeah, I felt like it looked like they known each other for a long time. The way they kind of like just talked. You talked briefly. Wasn't a lot, but you could see they're on the same page. I don't know a lot about him, but he said all the right things. But like I said, other GM, head coach have been like forced marriages, arrangement, whatever you want to call it, and it just hasn't worked. But when you have two guys like that, and you talk about consistency and sustainability, you look at the teams that are successful. You talk about how many head coaches, Jets?
22.
22.
All right, how many?
And this is the fifth coach since the last trip to the playoffs. So
that's right.
Like you're trying to find the right guy.
How many head coaches that the Steelers had in the last 50 years?
Three.
Yeah. And they win, and it's just keeping the same people together from top to bottom. But my first impression of them together was great. He didn't get peppered with questions.
No, you knew they were going to ask AG most of the questions up there.
Well, and he was smart about it. I know he, on its own, just said about the Aaron Rodgers thing. Yeah. We'll get to it. There's no date. We have deadline that we have to decide if he's coming back or not. So just get that out of the way. But yeah, he seems like the right guy, but you can tell there was a good chemistry between him and Aaron.
And
he's
not as old as Aaron.
No,
obviously,
39.
But a dozen years younger.
Yeah.
But not a completely dissimilar career path, right? Like decided he wanted to do this. I'm going to go be an intern. And then really almost a mailroom to the boardroom kind of a track where he did do all of the jobs from a stepping stone standpoint up to becoming an assistant general manager. And now he gets a crack at being a general manager.
I think it's a cool story. At San Diego State, he started as a quarterback, but then he lost his job by a guy by the name of Kevin O'Connell, right? Kevin O'Connell's doing quite a good job right now with the Minnesota Vikings. Obviously, he go on to play with the Jets just for a little bit. It was their first season or two. But AG is a player, going back to your days. You mentioned about going against him 1,000 different times at practice. Can you speak to his competitive nature? Because you're one of the most competitive people at Schuster I've ever met, or anybody out here watching or listening. But AG is of the same ilk.
Yeah, we battled. Like I said, when I came in training camp in '95, mini camp, I said he was the guy I wanted to go against. And he's just so fast, so quick. But like I said, we battled. You think 1-on-1, 7-on-7 team. How many times a day? Double practices for how many years? And I can't say one negative thing about him. We never fought. We never got a little extra after the play. It was a lot of respect there. But it was a great chess match that me and him had. Because how many routes am I going to run? How many different ways can I figure out to run that same route on him?
Right.
Like I said, very, very smart. The football IQ, it's up there. You're looking at him, and he's looking at me, and I'm like, what's he thinking? It's just the mind games I had with him. I think that's what made me so happy to come here and see that. Because I know how hard he worked. I know what kind of guy he is. And certainly, like I said, from going against him and how smart he was and how quick he was and all that stuff, when I got to the games, it was easy. And I think that is the kind of tenacity he's going to bring. the head coach. I'm biased. I'm always optimistic every year, but it's just different. It's a different vibe. A lot of smiles walking in here, and that's what you want. It's been kind of dreary in here. I hate to come upstairs because it's so quiet in here in the last year. But now, smile and everybody's happy, and this is what you want. You want this kind of environment.
The official Jets podcast is presented by Kendra Scott, the jewelry company that's shining bright and doing good. Shop game day ready jewelry styles and so much more at kendrascott.com.
Can you speak to the influences that he's had throughout his career? Maybe, Parcells has played a major role in his professional life, but then you can go on and say, hey, New Orleans, he works under Peyton, where New Orleans is here and they stayed here, and then he goes to Detroit with Dan Campbell, who was on that staff with Peyton as well, and they turned that thing around from 3-13-1 in year 1 to 15-2 in his final year as defensive coordinator.
Yeah, I mean, even as a player, some of the names he didn't even mention, right? He talked about Al Groh.
Yep.
And the fact that he still uses Al Groh as a sounding board to this day.
I never heard that before.
Yeah, goes and spends time and breaks down tape with him. And he was here with Bill Belichick as his defensive coordinator.
Yep.
So he learned the ins and outs not only of the Bill Belichick defense, but how to prepare. I remember Coach Belichick one time showing me a Aaron Glenn scouting report of Joey Galloway when they were playing the Seattle Seahawks. And Aaron on his scouting report had things written down when Joey's left foot is in front of his right foot at the line of scrimmage. These are his tendencies. When he's making a fist or his hand is relaxed, this is what I might be able to predict. Like, he was taught to prepare that thoroughly for an opponent and took that against you in practice every day. So as Wayne said, like, when you're talking about preparing against someone that's that prepared for you, there's no way that you probably played against anyone that was more prepared than that for you as an opponent. Probably a lot of guys who were less prepared than that when you would see them on Sundays. So, yes, I mean, his football brain has been shaped and matured and knowledge added to it from a lot of great mentors over the years. And that was a lot of the first thing that he brought up in his press conference. Right? He ran through all those names. These are the guys that I've learned under. Well, who better to then be your tutors for this job than that group of guys?
Ray Mickens was telling me the other day that Belichick would have players-led meetings, and Aaron was the guy who ultimately would go to the front of the room and run those.
Yeah. People don't realize that. And you look at him, smaller in stature. I got him. I think I'm an inch taller. That's good. But, just being prepared. And like he said, it's just, how many times did he say it's the little things?
Yeah.
It's the little things that go from, close losses to wins. That's the things you have to focus on. And if he could teach his coaches that can teach the players, this is a fine line between, like I said, winning and losing and being a great player or one of the best players. And I think he could bring that out of people because they're all talented. We're all physically blessed, but what is it about you, that it factor, that football IQ that raises you to the next level? He did it for himself, and you can see how he's done it with certain players.
Covered is not barrier.
Yeah.
He talked about the talent inside this place, as did Mougey. What do you make of the decision ahead at quarterback? He tackled that head on, said, hey, we've already had discussions with Aaron Rodgers.
Well,
they will continue.
You knew what the first question was going to be, so why not, because Wayne said talk about it right at the top, right? I mean, smart, right? Like, head it off the pass, get it out of the way.
Yeah.
And he said it the right way. Look, we're going to look at the roster in totality and answer all of these questions. Obviously, the most important question for any organization is what is happening now and what's your future at quarterback. They've got the 7th pick. I don't know if this free agent class or this year's draft class will produce another quarterback. Maybe Aaron Rodgers turns out. And that's what people keep asking me. I mean, look, anybody that you guys have that doesn't either work here or live this life, but they're on the periphery, they're Jet fans, what's the first thing they've asked you since the end of the season to now? Is Aaron Rodgers coming back, right?
I'm like, sick of it.
Right. Everybody asks the same question, and I kept saying the same thing. Anybody that sits there and says, no chance, like you're a talk show host, there's no way you bring Aaron Rodgers back. then the follow-up question is, okay, then what? Like, what's your answer to that question if you're crossing Aaron Rodgers' name off the list? That person never has a clear-cut answer to the question beyond.
Right.
So that's why they're leaving every door open. Yes, we're going to talk to Aaron Rodgers.
Yes.
Of course we're going to have that conversation.
Right.
And we're going to see if it's right for us and right for him. And they headed that question off right at the start. They didn't really believe the media too many follow-up avenues to go down.
Right.
Hey, guys, we're going to talk to him. We've already reached out.
Yeah.
Smart.
No surprises there,
sick of it.
right?
Nah, listen. I'm bad mouth nobody, but you look at NFL trending searches. It's Aaron Rodgers, Taylor Swift. The last year. I mean, seriously, it's like good or bad. People hate us or love the Jets. People tune in to see like us lose.
Right.
You know what I mean? We're always in the news, and Aaron's all over the place doing podcasts and whatever he does in the dark and whatever he smokes. I don't know. Great player, great player, one of the best ever. If he fits their system and mentality, that's one thing. But we're talking about draft needs. He said we got the core there. We got people here. Sometimes, you see like, needs. It'll be like, running back, D lineman, this and that. We don't have like that big long one we used to have. We just, we need a couple good starters, some backups, and just a better system. So we're not too many pieces away.
Right. I was thinking, though, in the back of the room, when listening to Aaron Glenn talk about what if I were one of those guys, right? Like you want that leader of men gravitas. And he had that in that press conference.
Yeah.
I don't know what he's going to say to the team. I'm sure it's going to have a few more four-letter words.
Sure.
And it's probably going to have even more gravitas to it when he gets in front of the team. But as hard as these last 10 years have been, as hard as the last 3 or 4 years have been with the young guys on this team, if you are Quinnen or Quincy Williams or Sauce Gardner or Garrett Wilson or one of these guys who won a lot in college, has not won in the NFL, and maybe you're a little disenchanted with everything that's happened. Now listen to that press conference.
Yeah.
Listen to the message coming from that coach, because it's still human being to human being, right? It's still, right, a coach sitting across from a player and saying, this is my vision, this is what I think the culture is going to be, this is where I think we're going. I would be, if I were a player that was wondering a couple of weeks ago about what is the future, where is the ship headed, if I heard that press conference, I'd be like, oh, okay, yeah. Like I can sit across from this head coach and believe that he's going to get this going in the right direction.
It doesn't take you a long time to be pulled in from Aaron Glenn.
No doubt, yeah. And so I'll be very interested to hear, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks from now, as you move through the winter, head towards the spring, all of a sudden these guys are back in the building regularly, or OTAs and whatnot, and they're around him all the time. If maybe their vision of the future and their future with the Jets might be a little different than it was 2 or 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago when the season ended and maybe that disenchantment was there.
I believe that as far as guys want to stick around and guys wanting to come here and play for Aaron and play for the Jets. I forgot what I was going to say.
But losing takes a lot out of you, and you saw that last season from some of these young guys that were so accustomed to winning at the collegiate levels. But now, to your point, Shoes, you hear a guy like Glenn and you say to yourself, we can win with this guy.
Yeah.
We can. He can flip it. He knows how to flip it. He's been in my shoes before.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. You guys watching and listening to Aaron is one thing, and people, watch the news and watch the clips, but you can't fake out players.
Yeah.
Even if, teammate, even if you love them or whatever, you can look at him. We know he means it. We know he's going to work hard. There's no like a fake it till you make it kind of thing. Like he's prepared, he's ready. And like he said, he's going to outgrow. He's going to Parcells. He's going here. He's not saying he has all the answers. He's continuing to learn and progress as a coach. And that's what you want to hear. But what he said today, obviously, like I said, I'm excited. To have him back. But the way he said it, it just makes sense that this is the kind of guy that you are going to want to play hard for, run through a brick wall for, kind of guy you want in your foxhole. And I think people are going to see that. And I think the players are going to see that. And I think that, got to get the locker room back together. Because last year, we're just a bunch of guys with popular names on the back of their jerseys, but they weren't a team.
Right.
But he's not stupid. Aaron sees the roster.
Yep.
Well,
Right? Like, he potentially could have been way more pursuant of the job in New Orleans or kept his name out there for one of the other openings. Right? Like, there's a reason Bill Belichick called the Jets. He didn't call anybody else, as far as I know, to investigate about the NFL opening before he went to North Carolina, because he sees a roster that has the Williams brothers and Sauce Gardner and 4 out of 5 pieces on the offensive line pretty well set, and Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson and Will McDonald, Jermaine Johnson. Like, there's a whole group of players here that if you can get the quarterback question answered, and you can supplement it with some of those other... Look, every team's got holes. The Jets have some holes. They know that. They have to fill them. But there's no question that anybody that looks at the Jet roster realizes that this is not, as you said, the cupboard is not empty. This is not a roster that is incapable of being flipped quickly. And not only does he get the culture, and not only does he get the New York market, the Jet history, one of us, all of that, I think Aaron, looking at it from a very pragmatic standpoint, is saying, I could go win with that roster a lot faster than people probably would think based on the record.
Yep.
And I think that probably enthused him about the job as well.
That's what makes it so frustrating. You look at going into this year, last year was a mulligan, obviously, with Aaron playing 4 plays, but, fans don't want to hear that, you know what I mean? A wasted year. But another thing about Aaron is he doesn't want to be seen, he doesn't want to, entertain and, handle the mic and this and that. He's not that kind of guy.
He loves the work.
Yeah, he wants to work. He likes to grind. Like you said, he's going 4 a.m. till it's done. There's no it's 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, I'm checking out. He's not leaving till it's done. That's what you want, that mentality. Because that carries down, I'm telling you. At all different levels, I've had different kind of coaches. And some coaches, they say stuff and you're just like, it's not believable. And then you get a guy like Herm who says in training camp, listen, it's the 10th day in a row. I know how you feel. I know this. And you're like, well, he knows. He sat in that seat. It's more believable to hear from someone who's been in the battle, been in the playoffs, gone on losing streaks. All these different things happen. He's been there. So when he portrays it to his coaching staff and the players, it's not just, you don't pick out just something here and there. You listen in the whole time. You're not just they're just blowing smoke. So, the fact that he's been there, that's the kind of coach I, responded to the most.
I appreciate both of you guys for coming in here. One of the greatest who've ever laced them up for the green and white. And, of course, the voice of the Jets, Bob Wischusen. Darren Mougey, Aaron Glenn, got a lot of work ahead of them, but it was a great day at One Jets Drive.